Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Berea City Council meeting, Tuesday, July 1st, 2025. I'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please let the record reflect that a quorum is present. This time I will call on Jerry Little to lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Jerry.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I ask you to give us counsel here tonight the knowledge, the wisdom, and the courage to do what is best for our city, our employees, and our people here in Berea. Amen.
Thank you, Jerry. The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve by John Payne with a second by Steve Cottle? Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll request a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Motion carries and the agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our June 17th, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
By Mr. Cottle. Is there a second? By Teresa Centers. Any discussion, changes, or corrections for the minutes? Seeing none, I'll request a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the minutes from June 17th, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Motion carries and the minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is public comment. And we do have one presenter tonight, Mem Pride. Mem, if you would like to approach the podium there, and while you're coming up, I'll read this for consistency. Public is given the opportunity to speak to the City Council during public comment portion of the meeting. Any public comments exceeding 3 minutes should be scheduled as a presentation to the mayor's office to be placed on the agenda. When recognized by the mayor, please go to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Comments should be business-oriented, and we ask for no inappropriate language or naming any person individually during your comments. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Miriam Pride, 108 Rose Street. And I'm here tonight. I need to say up front, I'm not representing anybody. I am a member of the Human Rights Commission, and I think they'd be pleased that I'm doing this, but they didn't ask me to do it. I'm here tonight to thank you for all the help we got on doing Juneteenth. It was a remarkable event. And for somebody who's volunteered for this city over a period of, I think my first activity was in 1982, when the tourism tax, right after it was first passed, and a committee was put together to decide how we were going to use that money. And at least half of the members of that committee were hotel and motel owners, and I was general manager at the tavern at the time. They had fought that tax bitterly, and were not the least bit inclined to put together a tourism program. So it was a tough haul. And then I came back on Human Rights Commission 14, 15, 16, and some of you will remember that was a very difficult time with a lot of pain and dissension. So for me to have the city, the Tourism Commission, First Friday, Berea Human Rights Commission, work together to put that together tells me that this city can work together to do anything it makes up its mind to do. And I'm just thrilled. We had wonderful help from, of course, Bruce was helpful and supportive, Robin, Susan, Nancy. I don't even know the names of all the people who did the work that made that possible. But it was really remarkable. And if you weren't there last year, I hope you'll be there next year. But I am personally moved. I mean, I got a little, as the Germans would say, verklempt about the whole thing, because it was kind of miraculous for me that group of people was working together to make that happen. So we can do it, folks. We just need to be thinking about what's best in the big picture. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments, and I'll also add my thanks for you and all the Human Rights Commission members for making that happen. You all were driving the bus, and we were just there to help. So thank you.
Well, and it's a wonderful group, Bruce.
It is.
You've really appointed a group that's serious and working hard. So.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Moving forward, we do have resolution number 12-2025. This is the Kenway Street Extension authorizing signature. Mr. Gilbert.
Whereas the Kentucky General Assembly has appropriated funds for infrastructure projects in House Bill 1 of the 2022 regular session of the Kentucky General Assembly. And whereas the city of Berea has previously determined that it is in the public interest to extend Kenway Street to U.S. Highway 25. And whereas the grantee desires funding from the Department for Local Government for the purpose of acquisition and construction of the project. And whereas in order to obtain a grant for the project and administered by DLG, the grantee is required to enter into assistance agreement with the DLG. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Berea, Kentucky as follows. 1. The grantee hereby accepts the grant award and approves the agreement between the grantee and the DLG to provide the necessary funds for the grantee for the project. 2. That the mayor is hereby designated as the grantee's authorized official for this project and is hereby directed and empowered by the grantee to execute the agreement, related documents and agreements, and to otherwise act on behalf of the grantee to effect such grant award and to engage a qualified project administrator. 3. That the grantee hereby agrees to commit to include in its annual budget and audit process the receipts and expenditures of funds subject to the agreement up to and including the date of the project closeout. 4. That this resolution shall take effect at the earliest time provided by law.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Is there a motion to approve and adopt resolution number 12-2025?
So moved.
By Ronnie Terrell with a second by Steve Cottle. Without objection, I'm going to request an editorial change in the first whereas to change 2022 to 2024 regular session. Any objections to that? That's just editorial. Okay. With that, I would request any open this floor for discussion. Ronnie, get your mic, Ron. Go ahead.
Does it mean as soon as we get that we can start buying land for the project?
That means that we can start right away as soon as this is all executed. We have a few other hoops to jump through, but to make sure that the funds are secured and ready, but we should be ready to go anytime. We've actually done a lot of preliminary work on this already, so we're prepared to move forward.
I'd like to see it hit what I call a shovel-ready project, where when the engineer is done, whatever, we can go in and do it quick, because for Dixie Park and Roseland, they only got one way out. And it'd be safer for the whole community by opening that up.
Agreed.
Okay.
Other comments or discussion on the motion to approve and adopt resolution number 12-2025? Seeing none, I'll request a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to approve resolution number 12-2025, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. The motion carries and resolution number 12-2025 is approved and adopted. The next item on the agenda is department head reports, and I'm happy to welcome our Assistant General Manager of BMU and to cover, they have listed on here sewer department. So Josh, I'm not sure if you're going to key on that, but Josh Gabbard, our Assistant General Manager, is here to do the update for the department head report tonight. Josh, you have the floor. Welcome.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, City Administrator. Appreciate the time this evening to update you all on the sewer department of the utility. And we've been spending most of our time and resources on combating inflow and infiltration, which is groundwater, stormwater, and any other water source entering the sewer system that is not municipal wastewater. We're also focusing on projects that will help us to maintain the integrity of our sewer system and also help us to meet Berea's current and future growth. We've begun system-wide inspections with a focus on identifying direct discharges into the collection system. Things like problems with lateral lines, sump pump connections, storm water to sewer connections. And we're paying close attention to customer-maintained lateral line cleanouts with missing or damaged caps. During rain events, this is a direct connection of stormwater into the collection system, and it puts a strain on the overall capacity, and it ultimately increases cost and treatment, as well as repair and maintenance costs at pump stations. So we want to avoid that where we can. So we'll be sending out letters to customers that are found to be non-compliant and issue a 30-day period to correct any deficiencies that we may find. In-house sewer line cleaning and camera work continues in the Brushy Fork sewer shed. As we find problems, we're making point repairs and scoring any collection system deficiencies. This ranking enables us to better identify line sections that are most in need of repair or replacement. Flow monitoring and evaluation continues in the Brushy Fork sewer shed as well. Through this monitoring, we've identified a few sections of sewer main that receive the most infiltration. We will now place those flow monitors in these specific areas for a more targeted approach to narrow down precise areas of lines that receive the most infiltration. Based on this information, we will design a project to be bid out this fiscal year that will include manhole and pipe relining in several of these sections. And this project is partially funded through the Cleaner Water Grant Program. We're working with Bell Engineering, who's completing the design of the Highway 595 pump station expansion and force main upgrade project. This project will be ready to bid by the end of the calendar year and is also partially funded through the Cleaner Water Grant Program. And once complete, this project will add additional capacity to the collection system on the north end of our service area, which is where we're seeing the most growth. We will soon issue an RFP for upgrading the wastewater treatment plant SCADA panel and computer. The existing panel is 20 years old and a lot of the components will soon become obsolete. The existing computer is over 10 years old and it is a Windows 7 machine, so it needs upgraded as well. The SCADA system is a critical part of the wastewater plant. Plant operates 24/7, 365. And the SCADA system performs alarm callouts to staff, provides graphical interface for us to monitor and check plant conditions, incorporates operational controls, and provides daily reporting for use in compliance documents and reports. So it's a critical piece of the plant. We've received and evaluated treatment chemical bids for the new fiscal year. We had a good response from our vendors with competitive pricing and pending some upcoming jar tests to ensure that the chemicals will work as they need to. We look to make our selections in the coming week for those chemicals. And lastly, 2 of our employees were recently upgraded in their treatment operator certification level back in June. So just like to congratulate them. Frank Carrier is now a Class 3 wastewater collection system operator, and Josh Bell is now a Class 2 wastewater collection system operator. The tests for these aren't easy. They require a lot of time and commitment to study in order to pass. So we appreciate them and their efforts, and just want to congratulate them here tonight. So with that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Josh. Questions about the utility department for Josh, or about the sewer? Katie?
Just have a quick question. So that unit that is so important, is that you're just replacing the hardware and it's going to be like the same program and everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yep.
neat. Okay.
Yep. It'll be the same program, just all new electrical components. They call them SCADA packs, and then a new computer.
Cool. So it's not going to be like a huge, like long process.
Right.
It's going to be plugging something new in.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, neat. That's great.
Other questions or comments for Josh? I'll just make one final one, Josh. First of all, thank you for your report and for filling in for Kevin. Really appreciate your report that's specific to the sewer program, but also the training and development of the sewer staff and really the entire department. Compliment you and Kevin for making sure that our folks are well-trained and for our folks for getting trained.
Yeah.
So appreciate all that you do and appreciate you being here with us tonight.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Josh. Would any other department head like to address the council? I'll recognize Assistant Codes and Planning Administrator Brian Reed. Brian, come on up. The floor is yours.
Thank you all for letting me come in and give you all an update. This will be on the city capital projects, both the ones ongoing and the ones that will be coming up soon in the future. First one I'd like to discuss is the pool. The pool's now approximately 70% complete. The pool deck is currently being formed and poured. We're at about 50 or 60% of the pool deck now. The foundations for the slides are complete. The plumbing for the slides is being installed this week. They started this morning on that. And the last section of deck drainage is in progress. The The repair and preparation of the pool bottom is expected to start next week so that the pool liner can be installed as soon as the pool deck is done. The manufacturing of the slide and the slide structure is complete and expected to be delivered in the next couple weeks. We don't have a confirmed date yet. And then the manufacturer will be installing the slide shortly after delivery. I've also been working pretty closely with Sean on the pickleball court that was recently budgeted in this budget year. It's for a 6-court pickleball complex. We've begun with estimates for construction, are now preparing requests for proposals for the various trades. We hope to start construction late summer. Also on the Trailhead Restroom project, the design is complete and we're waiting for the Department of Local Government to give us notice to proceed with the procurement phase. We were told on May 30th that we should be given notice to proceed in advertising from 4 to 6 weeks, so that'll be coming up any day now. And the architect is ready to prepare the bid documents with appropriate dates and all that once he is given notice. Next on my list is the Ellipse Shared Use Path. Berea Utilities has been moving the light poles to prepare for the construction. My understanding is they have 1 transformer and 1 light pole still to move. The contract for construction project has been signed with the Allen Company, and the contractor is expected to mobilize in the next couple weeks. Scaffold Cane Shared Use Trail is funded through a Federal Highway Association grant, which is also funding the Trailhead Restroom project. They will only fund 1 grant at a time per local government, so this project can't start until the Trailhead Restrooms are finishing up. But Jacob Marsh at Bluegrass Ad is completing all the final paperwork and documentation to send to the Department of Local Governments when the restroom is nearing completion, so we'll try to roll from one project directly to the other. And last on the list is the Fairstown Community Center. The resolution for the cost overruns and the resolution for the anti-displacement has been approved, my understanding, through council. And the resolution for the procurement code should be prepared by the next council meeting. These items are the majority of the paperwork that needs to be completed by Bluegrass Ad to proceed. The architectural plans for the building have been submitted to our office and been conditionally approved. We've been in contact with the architect this week and expect a revised set of plans to be submitted soon. There were just some minor revisions. We've also received and reviewed a submittal for the development plan for this project. After the development was reviewed, we received some more information on the Mady Road extension, so we need some revisions to better incorporate and tie those two projects together. This week we've received revised plans, and we hope to start reviewing those in the next week or so. Does anybody have any questions on the projects?
Jerry, go right ahead, and then we'll come to Ronnie.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
The Trailhead concession. Are y'all gonna make sure that you put a chain link fence around where the kids can't get to it? And I'd like to see a picture of it hanging down there so the people, I think tourism is giving us some money for the Trailhead. And
Budgeted.
put a sign on there that tourism is paying for part of that.
We haven't looked at any of the signage yet. The fencing will be the current fence that's there.
There's no fence there.
Well, between the parking lot and, it won't be fenced off, or it's not currently planned to be fenced off from any other areas.
I thought we were gonna do it to keep the kids from playing around the area. That was my opinion, and I thought what we were gonna do, but,
Not aware of that yet, Ronnie. That
Okay,
That could
okay.
be something we could discuss, but.
okay, all right, thank you.
Jerry?
Hey, Brian,
Yes.
on the location out there of the Forest-Town, the building out there, do you know where actually it's gonna, is it gonna be close to the church, or is it gonna be down, you got any idea where it's gonna be located at in the park out there?
It'll be right where the new road is coming back onto Menless Road. There's a nearly 90-degree curve in the road, and it'll
In
be.
that corner sort of there?
Yes.
Okay,
Jerry, I can help with that. If you're driving out on Menelus,
Yeah.
where those two red gates are, that's really our only,
Yeah.
our only entrance where the Berea Industrial Authority property came out onto Menelus. If you pulled right through that gate, it would be on the left there as you pull.
Ronnie and I was out there 2 or 3 days ago, and we went right
It's-
through that.
it's right
We
across
drove-
from Darnell Martin's
We
place.
drove back there, and look, all right,
sir.
thank you.
Yeah, it'll be pretty back there. It'll be nice.
It is, it's nice.
Yes, it is. Any other questions or comments for Brian? Steve? And then I'll come back. Katie?
Sure. What is our cost estimate on the pickleball and the trailhead?
$275,000.
For the pickleball or the trailhead?
Oh, which,
Pickleball each.
okay, pickleball is $275,000. That's the budget amount. It's estimated just under that. The estimated cost of construction is about $550,000 for the trailhead restroom.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Katie?
Can you give us a sense of, I haven't seen any images of the Ferristown Community Center space. Can you give us a sense of like square footage, different use types for the different rooms, that kind of thing?
Yes, there's a mechanical room in the back. There's a foyer that also has some gallery type space for hanging artwork. There's a large, I think it's called gathering room on the plan. And then there's a warming area in the back, as well as 3 restrooms.
Katie, I don't mind send that to you guys tomorrow. I can do that.
No, I'll make a note that the restrooms will be able to be accessed from the inside or outside. Of course, the outside will be locked, but it's designed that way where if we have some outdoor recreation going on and you don't want to open the center, at least the restrooms will be open to people in the area.
Yeah, 2 restrooms will be open to like a secured vestibule, and the other is more from the inside, so,
It'll be a really nice space. I think, Sean, a little over 3,000 square feet. Am I right on that?
yes.
A little over 3,000 square feet. It'll be, the architecture and the drawing, when you see it, it really fits with the community and it works. It'll have a metal roof on it, which is actually a little more expensive, but it seems to fit with the community as a whole much better. But I think you guys are going to be really pleased with it. And Aaron Banther was here before. I think he was here not long ago. But anyway, we've been working really closely with Aaron and our Land of Promise and getting feedback from him as well. And that's really been helpful for us. So Sean's done a lot of good work on that, and Rose before Sean. So, and Brian, of course, with all these projects, we'll get into that in a minute. He's been great. So let me come back to Ronnie.
The pickleball, have we got any plans for we haven't seen any plans or anything. Will we be able to see some, do we have plans now?
Yeah, that's a fair statement, Ronnie. We can also send that out to you guys tomorrow with the Ferristown plans and all that, yeah.
And is tourism paying any money for that?
They're providing $137,500.
I wish you'd put a big sign up down here that says.
We do
pickleball
plan.
Courts and, money paid by tourism.
Yeah, we plan on doing that. And we'll hang a sign on the fence for the trailhead restroom to go along with that
Just
too.
wanna make sure.
I got something.
Jerry?
Aren't we going forward from now on, anytime tourism participates, we're gonna put a plaque or something up and saying that participant from tourism? Isn't that what we've decided?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Jerry. I think we will go along with that.
Can I ask one more question?
Katie?
And this is just me, I'm sorry, just like brainstorming in the moment and not being super aware of our capital plan, capital improvements plan. But I feel like a few times it's come up about the locker rooms area at the pool needing an upgrade. Is that something that is on, or am I just misremembering that? And I'm thinking about the trailhead restroom. It just seems like if the pool is going to continue to be closed for an extended period of time, is there any work that needs to be happening on that building itself?
There's been some general maintenance issues with plumbing and other things that have been worked on this year. We have walked through and assessed for maybe some future projects. I don't know anything on the status of those.
Okay, so nothing immediately that like needs to be addressed that we could be dealing with while the pool's already closed?
I think so. I think the issues that need to be done immediately have been worked on.
Cool.
Is that a fair assessment, Sean?
Yes, it's very, very fair. And honestly, there's nothing budgeted for the,
Well, I know, I like to come up with projects that we don't have money for. I am on the Parks Committee after all, so, you know.
right.
I'm just joking.
We could always get a couple of paint buckets and some brushes. We go down. Other questions or comments for Brian? Brian, I just want to compliment you publicly on your project management. Brian, of course, is the Assistant Codes and Planning Administrator, but he's also taken care of the projects, all those ones that you heard of, and just completed the Berea Gallery and Event Center. So doing a fantastic job, and appreciate your efforts in addition to your codes and planning duties. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make one comment.
Jerry, go right ahead.
I want to comment on Brian. I think that's such an important job, and I'm so proud the city's got us a coordinator now that understands the projects, and it'll save us a lot of money, and it'll just be a good deal, and I want to thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Would any other department heads like to address the council? All right, seeing none, we'll move forward. Without objection, I would like to go before Sean, if nobody objects to that. Okay, so we'll move with the mayor's comments, and then we'll follow that up with the city administrator's report. I have two items that I want to mention. One I mentioned last time. There's a real pretty brochure. This is on the Berea Parks and Recreation social media page, and also the City of Berea social media page for the 4th of July. Priscilla and her team have really scheduled a great celebration with concert and fireworks. The main stage, I think the performance is going to be at 8 o'clock, according to this, Priscilla, right? And then fireworks at dark, roughly 10 p.m. 10 o'clock on the dot. So please come out. Hopefully we'll have good weather. So y'all keep your fingers crossed for that. And Priscilla, thanks to you and your team for planning a really nice traditional 4th of July celebration. The second item that I wanted to mention, there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of feedback on the 911 fee, and I did prepare a statement for that. Over the past week, we've received many questions about the county 911 fee letter that was mailed out a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to provide information about this topic this evening because this information needs to be shared as widely in as many places as possible. For background, it was determined that the 911 fee is needed because the Federal Chemical Stockpile Emergency Preparedness Program funding, which is commonly referred to as CSEP funding, that's related to the destruction of chemical weapons stockpile at the Bluegrass Army Depot, that funding ends this year. These federal funds have been subsidizing our county's joint 911 system for several decades. It is essential to have one county-wide 911 system because our police and our fire departments have mutual aid agreements with the city of Richmond and with the county, and it's much more cost-effective to have one joint 911 system rather than having multiple 911 centers. It's important for public safety to have a well-staffed 911 center with the best technology available to answer calls to 911 for emergencies immediately and to provide immediate response to emergency calls requiring a response from our police departments, fire departments, and the ambulance service. In these situations, every second matters and can literally be a matter of life and death. Additionally, our 911 dispatchers are the eyes and ears of our first responders, providing critical information on call location, the nature of the call, and alerting our first responders of any potential dangers to the first responder or other citizens, such as in a domestic violence situation. The 911 dispatcher is truly a lifeline who stays with the police officer, firefighter, or emergency medical technician on emergency calls until the emergency situation is cleared. It is clear that we need a strong 911 center. It is also clear that all of us and our colleagues in Richmond and Madison County need to be receptive and hear the concerns and feedback of the citizens. And that includes both positive feedback and criticism, because wisdom and truth are often found in the dissenting voice. Collectively, all decision makers should take the feedback and concerns into consideration and take action as the 911 fee process is improved over time. I also want to provide a timeline that has led us to this point. In the fall of 2023, a post-CSEP task force was created that included 2 members from the City of Richmond, the City of Berea, and the Madison County Fiscal Court, 2 members each, plus the 911 director. The task force was a high-level group that included a police chief, a fire chief, a city administrator, a city manager, an information technology director, and the county emergency management director. The work group met at least bi-weekly to determine how to ensure that we can keep high-quality 911 dispatch center after federal CSEP funding ended. In March 2024, over a year ago, the Madison County Fiscal Court, Berea City Council, and Richmond City Commission held a joint work session to review the findings and recommendations of the post-CSEP task force. On April the 2nd, 2024, again over a year ago, the Berea City Council unanimously approved a resolution to enter an interlocal agreement with Madison County Fiscal Court and the City of Richmond for transitioning the current joint 911 to a countywide 911 center as a department of the Madison County government to be funded by a 911 fee as recommended by the task force. 1 week later, on April 9th, 2024, the Richmond City Commission approved a similar resolution to establish countywide 911 center as a department of Madison County government to be funded by a 911 fee as recommended by the task force. On June the 11th, 2024, 1 year ago, the Madison County Fiscal Court passed an ordinance to establish the County 911 Center as a department of Madison County government to be funded by a 911 fee as recommended by the task force. Based on citizen feedback, a decision was made to delay implementation until 2025, this year, the year when CSEP funding runs out. Since the notices about this fee were mailed out about 2 weeks ago, the most common questions I have and concerns that I have received are as follows. First was that the deadline of June 30th did not give enough time to appeal. The appeal timeframe was extended until July 11th, and I have received assurances that appeals can be accepted after that date if there's good cause. The second concern that I've heard most frequently is that the square footage on the letter is not correct. At a Madison County Fiscal Court meeting yesterday morning, it was acknowledged that some square footage figures provided on the notices were not correct. This can be corrected by submitting an appeal. An appeal can be filed online as shown on the 911 fee letter. I also know that the staff of the county judge's office is helping citizens file appeal. Also, our city administrator has designated City of Berea employee Tommy Horn to assist with filing an appeal for any Berea resident who does not have internet access, which is one of the other concerns, that some people do not have internet access. So they can call into the Berea City number and we'll get them connected with Tommy. This information is on our city Facebook page. The other most common concern that I've had with phone calls over the last 2 weeks is that the zoning on the notice is not correct. For example, we had one person that lives in a single-family home, but it showed multifamily. I'm not really sure how that happened, but this can also be corrected by appealing as is shown on the letter. Lastly, I watched the video of the Madison County Fiscal Court meeting, which was held yesterday morning. I watched that last night, and there were about 2 hours of questions and answers, frequently asked questions. This is a very good source of information about the 911 fee and how to appeal. The video can be located on the Madison County Government website. We have also shared this video along with the website for submitting appeals to the City of Berea Facebook page, and I know that several of our council members have also shared this information as well. I hope that this information will be helpful as we navigate this process, which is new to all of us. Thank you, and that concludes mayor's comments. I'll next move to council comments, and I'll begin with Mr. Terrell. Oh, I'm sorry. I did it again, Ronnie. I forgot to go to Sean. I'm used to going right into it. Sorry about that. We'll come right back to you. Turn it over to Sean for the city administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. First, I just want to thank Brian Reed also and Josh for the excellent work that they do each and every day. It's, as you get to see how much goes into their job and how they perform that, it's really great for me to have that kind of staff on hand each day. As you can also tell, Josh spoke on the sewerism, or the sewerism, I don't even know what that word is, the sewer department. And as a compromise, and we heard your all's voice last meeting and your comments, we plan to move forward with your permission to have one presentation per month, and the second meeting will be a written report. So we'll have each one, and we have 12 departments, so Kevin's department will be broke up into 3 months with each one of theirs. So hopefully that'll go smooth for everyone. Also, speaking on the 911 fee, I want to take just a second to make a comment. I've lived that life for 31 years, basically my entire adult life is spent on first responders and the fire service. I know firsthand the importance of 911 dispatch and what they provide our first responders. Folks, each call that we go on, it is vital for us to have the information that they obtain from that caller, not only when the first call comes out, but as we're responding, we get updates. That tells us everything we need to know prior to getting there. Maybe fire needs to back off and wait for police to come in. It gives the police the information that they need to know if a gun has been presented or a knife or something. They can go into the scene looking at it a little differently than just a normal call. It's very important. And the dispatch center and the infrastructure that goes along with that's our first line of defense. It's our responder safety that's involved in that, and it's very important. And I realize it comes with a cost, and it's substantial. But I also want to say that our staff didn't make this decision, but we're here to help through this appeal process and to get it right. We want to get it right. Just give us some patience and let us help each citizen that needs the help. We're more than willing to listen to you, provide any documentation that we need to provide to go through the appeal process, and we will help you get there. They have been doing that process this past week and a half, and we will continue to do that. Our IT team can now be reached at 859-228-1048. That's a designated line for our IT team to be able to help go through this situation with people that doesn't have computers or just don't know how to go about it and obtain the documentation that's needed. I would also ask that if you have a neighbor that needs help, please pass this information along to them. We don't want to see anyone fall through or be overlooked during this process. Like, we know that there's bad data, but we're also willing to help get the data correct. I think Wendy and her staff, the judge's office, they've done an excellent job of reaching out, and that's been receptive to some, and some have taken that in a manner that's not so good, and that's bad because we want to help the judge's office or the city. So I just wanted to let everybody know my feelings on that more than anything. I'll take any questions you might have.
Jerry, go right ahead.
I was talking with Sean this morning, and a friend of mine went to the 911 or EMS center up on South Kingland to talk about the 911 fee. And he went in there, and he come back telling me, he said there was 51 screens, and he said, Jerry, I've never seen nothing like it. He said there's so much, and explained to Sean what he saw. He didn't really just explain that to the people, because I've never been in there, and of course, that's the first time he'd ever been in there, but he thought there's 51 screens and nobody will work in them. Explain it, please.
Yeah, to talk on that, what the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, was designed for the CSEP demilitarization project, right? So there is called a war room where people like you, people like our first responders, they all gather into one room. If we have an event, it could be a tornado, it could be any disaster on the interstate involving chemicals, CSEP program, anything that we have that's affecting a lot of our citizens, we would come together in that war room, as we call it, and we would work on those monitors on our computers and formulate a plan together as a group to resolve the issue. So people don't have access to the dispatch center. With Link NCIC and the securities that's involved, they don't have access to our dispatch center. Only our dispatchers or directors, those kind of people are allowed in that room. So what they're seeing is the war room, as we call it, a place that we have for everybody to come together to work through a problem. And that's kind of what he was able to see. And that was all paid for by CSEP. You know, none of this fee can go towards that. It's not allowed. KRS prohibits this fee to go towards any of that stuff. It's only dispatch related as far as infrastructure to get the call out in to the dispatch center and out of the dispatch center to the first responders. Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other, thank you, Sean. Katie?
I just wanted to make a comment because I was at that joint meeting that the committee held, and I was so impressed by how deep y'all dug into ways to solve this problem. Putting a tax on on the county property taxes was not the first, quickest, easiest solution. Like, it was, I know that you know this, we all know this, but since it's been surprising to some people that seems like this is happening all of a sudden, I really just wanted to say how much I appreciated, and Sean was the chairperson, right, of that committee or co-chair or something?
I got elected
You were one
to
of the
deliver the
leaders,
message.
so who would
There
have
was a
known
lot
that
of-
you'd be answering questions
a lot of
about it
important
here at a
people in the
council
room.
meeting? Yeah. No, totally. I just felt really proud that we had such good folks from Berea representing us and representing our citizens. And I know this is obvious as well, y'all, but and Mayor Fraley basically said it, but these services have to be paid for, and we've been incredibly fortunate because we had such a dangerous situation a few miles up the road. It's been subsidized for so long, we don't even remember having that fee on our landline, and we don't hardly anybody has landlines. So I just was really taken with how careful y'all had made that decision. And I don't remember ever having a joint meeting with the county and Richmond and stuff. It was really well done.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. There is a lot of information that we took into consideration. That was our job. That was what we was tasked to do, to present something that is going to be a difficult situation. I mean, it is, and we done that. Obviously, it's not perfect, and we know the areas that we can adjust, but luckily we have that ability. But the foundation, I think, is a good foundation, and we can build off of that foundation to going forward to resolve some of the issues that we're seeing. Yeah.
Teresa?
Well, I too was at that meeting. I think most of us
Yeah,
were
it
at
was
that
fun,
meeting,
yeah.
but, and it was well handled, and I don't think anybody, certainly not anybody around this dais or the constituents that I've heard from, everybody to a person appreciates 911 and knows that we need that. And if you're the person who has to make the call, it's priceless. But I think the problem that I'm hearing from everybody who's in my ears is the data thing. And I myself had to file an appeal, which, by the way, was easy to do. I just downloaded a screenshot from the PVA's office and upload. Anyway, it was not difficult. But the other question that I'm hearing, and I tried to find paperwork, but it's buried so far deep that I couldn't. But when we were in that meeting, we talked about each, I think they referred to it as door,
Yeah, that's
being charged. And square footage was never mentioned. And I really don't see what square footage has to do with anything, because a 10,000 square foot mansion and a tiny house, if you get a 911 call, I don't know that it's gonna cost
I think
more to respond.
Yeah, you're correct. We did present a manner which was based on doors to a facility, and then once it got into commercial and businesses, it became a square footage thing. But residentials and those kind of lower
Right.
property owners was doors. I will say this, that in that model, the rate for a residential homeowner was a lot higher than
Sure.
what is proposed now.
Sure.
It lowered the commercial side a little bit, but the residential paid a lot more. It was projected at $65 to $70 per resident in that model. I think this is a fair way to go about it. I honestly do. I think that the judge and the magistrates took the call data that our first responders respond to, and they looked at where we're going. And I think that's a fair assessment to give to those businesses. It's very difficult because you have some businesses like Mr. Doug Haley down here on Lester Street, very small woodworker, but he's got a huge building, and there's not a lot of money that's turned over in that. I get that. So there's, like I say, there's a good foundation here. We just need to look at some things that we can adjust along the way.
And I
hopefully get
remember
it
that
right.
conversation about warehouses that were huge, but that just, there wasn't a lot of risk or whatever involved in those things. But, and we could talk about that as long as we did at that meeting that day, and we don't want to do that. But the other thing that I'm hearing a lot of is folks with rental properties who are just being, and you know, those people for the most part are not able to eat that. They're going to have to raise rental rates, and I mean, anyway, I don't know. And I'm really curious about how all this data was collected, because it seems like it's a whole lot not accurate. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Thanks, Teresa.
Thanks, Teresa. Other questions or comments for Sean? Ronnie?
I want to talk about 911 too. And I've had people ask me about it, and I tell them what the three governments met and agreed on what was going to happen. And it was the fairest thing I've seen lately for government to do. And they got problems, but then I hear that one of our county person is blaming Bria for it, telling people that. I resent that somebody on the county's board is telling them it's Bria that started this stuff. And I won't mention the name, but it is the fairest thing we can do. And I'm telling people that. And with everything, when you first start, you have problems. And we got problems with it, but they're trying to help everybody they can. That's it.
Thank you, Ronnie. Other comments for Sean? Thank you, Sean. Good report. Appreciate it. And we'll move forward this time, as promised to Ronnie, to council comments, and I'll begin with Ronnie Terrell. Yes, sir. All right, thank you, Ronnie. Next, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. We'll move over to Steve Davis tonight.
Just want to thank the folks that have been on council for a long time, particularly Ronnie and Jerry, for pushing the Kenway project for a long time. I know some of the others of you have probably done that, but we've needed that done for a really long time. And I hope when we build subdivisions in the future, including some new ones we built that only have one outlet, that we keep this in mind of how long it's taken for Kenway to get opened up, and we start making sure that our projects have two ways of access.
Thank you, Steve. Next, we'll move to Teresa Center, since I'm mixing it up some.
Wow, you are
Caught you
mixing it
off
up.
guard.
I don't have any further comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Jerry Little. Jerry, you have the floor.
I've got two or three things. The first thing I want to talk about Public Works Department. With all this rain we've had, our grass has just been, it's been out of hand to keep up with. And you know, it's growed up and it's, we've just had a difficult time, and our drainage ditches and stuff has growed up on us. And it's hard to keep our grass cut in the summertime and keep these ditches and stuff cleaned out. So I hope everybody will just bear with us. And this fall and winter is the time we need to go in and clean out the drainage ditches and the stuff like that when the grass isn't a-growing. And I think we're gonna get back on track, but it's gonna take us 4 or 5 months to get back lined out, and we'll get this back under control. And we gotta keep our waterways and streams cleaned out. It's, I don't know if you remember the flood 10 years ago, but it's very important. But we just can't do it in the summertime and keep the city and the people looking good. And I hope everybody understands that. And I want to talk about the 911 fee a little bit. Teresa touched base on it, and I think you did a good job. I really wish the square footage had been talked about to us. We had those meetings, and we didn't have, the square footage wasn't talked about. And you got to come up. I was right there, and I voted for it. Okay, I was there, but you know, I don't see why this has to be set in stone. You know, after this gets worked out and gets adjusted, the program may have to go looked at a little bit and maybe adjust some things, because it's a brand new program, and I don't, just like, they've got to be some exemptions on square footage on commercial property, like Doug Haley. It's terrible, his situation down there. It just ain't right. And I myself don't see why that residential housing isn't the same price for everybody. I don't understand a single-family home ought to be the same, but you know, fairness and transparency is one of the most important things you can have in government. And I feel like this is not set in stone. I feel like with the problems we've had here so far, that it may be looked at 6 months down the road, and there could be some adjustments made to have a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more. And then one more thing, and this is my last thing here. A lot of people may think that being CSIP paid for all this stuff over the years, you know, they ain't no doubt we got the big Cadillac now. They ain't no doubt we've got the best of the best of the best. My question is, and I've had a lot of people ask me this, can we afford to keep the same level? Now, we've got to have 911, but can we afford to keep the same level? We don't have the nerve gas and the bombs or anything anymore, so does that, the level needs to be looked at, and I really think that we'll get this worked out. It may take a year, but I hope we can get a little bit more, get it a little bit better. And you know, it's brand new, and I know there've been mistakes made, and that's just part of it. Nothing's perfect. Thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, Jerry. And we'll move back over to this side of the room and John Payne.
I guess I'll start with the 911 fee assessment, since everybody else has been talking about it. The big action item is, if you've received the assessment, you don't agree with the assessment, get that appeal done as quickly as possible. There's links, I believe, on the city's page, on I know on at least one of our magistrates' pages, on the Madison County's page, and several of our social medias. Please go to that link. Essentially, a single-family dwelling, 2,000 square foot, should be about $32 by the metric that's spelled out. Of course, it's a little bit, it's going to be more for a multifamily, and it's going to be more for commercial, but look at what the metric is, see if it's fair. If it's not fair, get that appeal in as quickly as possible, because that will be on this year's tax bill. Aside from that, I wanted to say I hope everyone has a safe and happy 4th of July upcoming. I also noticed that I've got a temporary neighbor. There's a black bear that is in the vicinity of Cracker Barrel and Walmart, and it is to be considered a wild animal. It's kind of cute, but please don't pet that dog. That's all I have.
Thank you, John. Just don't leave any honey outside. Next, we'll move to Katie Startzman. Katie.
Kind of related to what Jerry was saying about the budget maybe being in flux. I know that this is something that the county is going to manage, and so I'm assuming just like our city budget has different funds, that this will be a similar kind of fund of the county that's restricted how they can spend it. And I can just do this as a citizen, I guess, but it might be kind of neat as a council to review the budget after we've been like 6 months in or a year in or something, so that we can, because I know there were a lot of projections presented to us at that meeting, and there were some, like, I remember some of the different iterations, it was going into the red, you know, and so like the goal is to just have as much money as we need and not a whole lot more, but is there any way for us to just like look at that, or should we just look at it as individual citizens, or when does the county present on that
I
kind of
think we could maybe do that as a work session. Sean, you're working with the group and work closely with Wendy. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely think that's possible. We can have Wendy down here as early as next meeting or the meeting after that. Yeah, I'll check with her schedule to see if we
Yeah.
can just go over the preliminary budget, and then if you want to view that later on, we can have that done also.
Yeah, I'm sure she's super busy right now, so it's not an emergency.
Yeah.
But it's not an emergency.
She, and I will mention too that Wendy covered a lot of the 911
Okay.
budget in that
Smart. I
meeting
should just
yesterday
watch
that's
that.
on the video.
Okay.
And like I said, it's worth the watch.
Okay, cool.
I wasn't able to be there in person, but I was able to watch it last night when I got
Great.
home late. But there's probably pretty close to 2 hours at the
Wow.
end, toward the end. They had a couple other business items, and then they opened it up for the discussion on that. And it was a lot of frequently asked questions, and a whole lot of that related to the 911 budget and what that was for.
Cool.
And I thought she did a really good job explaining that.
Great. I'll just break out my knitting and watch that, I guess.
All right.
Thank you.
There you go. All right. Katie, anything else? All right. Moving forward, last but not least, he never gets to go last. Steve
I missed the
Cottle.
random. This is exciting. It's like a lottery.
You didn't get to come to them meetings over, did you?
I did. No, I actually was there. I was at those meetings, and I will say that Ronnie's right. That's one of the most collaborative opportunities that we've had in my however many years I've done this, in terms of working with the county government and the city of Richmond. I think we've done that maybe 1 or 2 other times in my, I don't know how long have I done, 12 years, 13 years, I don't know, however long I've done this. We've done it maybe 2 or 3 times. But what I will say is this. I've learned, I think if I look at this from a perspective of how do we learn from this situation, one of the things that I've really learned, and we need to take this to heart as a city as well, our communication can't just be through traditional models. And I'm not that old, I can't say that for very much longer, but I'm not that old, and I don't use the new communication methods. I read a newspaper, and I watch the news, it's like, but people don't. And so while I felt like, and I think maybe many in this room, maybe at times felt like, was that this had been talked about several times. And what I've learned is that people didn't know anything about it. And so that's an opportunity for us in anything that we do as we move forward, because the reality is that we have talked about this for about a year, and people didn't know. And so that's on us as cities and as county government to think about how can we better communicate moving forward. That being said, I do want everybody to give the county an opportunity to look at all of these appeals. I mean, I'm one of them on both counts, square footage and class. I mean, it happened across the board. And I think the reality is that the type of data that they were having to use to get this information maybe traditionally hasn't been used for this method, right? So it's been used for other things, and as they've moved it over, it hasn't worked well. The square footage piece, I think that is a reality of the conversation that we had. Sean's right. One of the big things at the beginning of that conversation was when you looked at the number of calls, it was going mostly to places that had more square footage. So you were getting a higher rate for residential homes versus, let's say, a large box store, for instance. And the other side to it is that we've talked about the idea that landlines disappearing have kind of caused some of this. As our city has gone on in the last 10 years, I know, every single year it's kind of gone up how much we've had to support. What's important to note, and I haven't heard a lot of people say, and I just want to say this out loud so that everybody's aware, is that if you still have a traditional landline, that fee will then be refunded and you will not have to pay for, so basically it's a wash. If you look at what it would cost for a residential home, it's about the exact same as it would be for your, it's maybe $5 difference. But all that being said, this isn't a new conversation, and Jerry's right that we've had to look at a lot of things in the last 10 years. I mean, I think I was on a committee with the county 6 years ago looking at how do we get out of CSEP as it is going to go away. That's the reason that our sirens changed. That's the reason that our police and our fire have gone to different radio systems so that we are getting kind of weaning ourselves off those CSEP funds. And this is sort of the very end of it. And Sean alluded to this and said it, that these funds can't be spent on that kind of thing anymore. These are just for 911 boards. And another point that has been brought up by a lot of people that I've seen is put it on cell phones. Well, that'd be a great idea, but the state says we can't do that because the state board gets those funds and it's about $1 a month, 78 cents, 79 cents, I think. So in closing, because I don't want to repeat what everyone else has said, but this has been a difficult time for a lot of people. And as these bills have come out, and just realize that no one, our county judge executive, our magistrates, our friends of the North, us, no one is doing this because we want some sort of money grab so that we can have these incredible services that we've never been able to do before. What we're trying to do is make sure that when you call 911 and your house is on fire or someone's breaking in your car, that the police show up quickly or that the firefighters show up quickly and get their jobs done. Because the reality is that I'm very blessed that in different parts of my life, I get to be around a lot of different first responder agencies in this county, and they are all exceptional. But if they can't find you and they can't provide the services that they're trained to do, it doesn't really mean much for you. And so this is not an easy pill for anybody to swallow, us included. But the reality is that we've been a little spoiled with what we've not had to fund, and this is the new reality as no one has landlines anymore. We have to find a way to fund this. And again, we need these services, and I want to make sure that the people who are providing the services have all the tools that they need to be successful. So thank you, and can I do a motion to adjourn? You going?
With that objection, we'll come back to Jerry.
I just want to say one thing. You know, the landline fees, I don't want people to think they was a fund in this. The best I can remember, CSEP and the federal government, I think the landline fees didn't bring in but $450,000. I think the $450,000, we need $4.7 million. So I don't know if you'd have put on cell phones how much the fee would have had to be, and that big difference in 4.7 is a lot of money. But the landlines have brought, but what they was doing, all the landlines was doing is just putting a little in the bucket, and the government was putting the rest. So that's all I got to say.
Thank
And I
you.
think when I started, we were paying like $60,000
Yeah.
a year. That's how much the city of Berea was contributing, was $60,000. And then as landlines have dropped off, it's just gotten worse and
We
worse.
still got to pay a little bit till we get the reserve built up, haven't we?
I don't think that there's any, I don't remember what goes into the budget, but I don't think there's anything else. So like this doesn't, if we had not done this, it would have been a bill to the city of about $900,000.
But
And that's just if you go straight percentages.
But I think the cities, I think all three of us entities are still paying in till we get a certain reserve built up.
Until this end of this year.
Yeah, the land.
The new budget does
The
not.
landline goes away.
Yeah, so we've already
at
paid
end
for
of
the
year.
25
The landline goes
calendar
away at the end of the
year.
year.
26 is when this actually goes into effect, but we've already paid for the 25 calendar year, and we won't continue to pay moving forward.
Yeah,
Because
there's
the
no
next
money.
payment would have been in the 26 calendar year from the city of Berea, right?
Yeah, fiscal year 26, if it was been in there, but it's not budgeted.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second by John Payne? All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye.